All right. Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Craig Booth. I'm the founder and principal of Channel Force Incorporated. I appreciate everybody showing up today, taking time out of their schedule for our second webinar, Generating 2X Revenue Growth Through Strategic Playbook Resourcing. So we've got a jam-packed session today, probably a little bit more slides than we normally would have in a webinar, but I'm excited to present some of the material that we're going to be presenting. Brent, if you want to go to the next slide. So let me introduce our all-star cast. As again, I mentioned, my name is Craig Booth. I'm the founder and principal of Channel Force Incorporated, but with me, I have two all-stars with me. So first is our prodigy, Andre Becker. Andre is a talented musician, a football coach, an amazing channel thought leader. Really is the total package when it comes to leadership and next generation thoughts on channels. So Andre, if you'll do a quick introduction, I appreciate that. But I want to at least set the stage for you.
Yeah, thanks. I'm so glad that, because of the US audience, right, mostly, you would understand when we say football, because I always get teased in the UK about, it's called, the right word is soccer, but I'm talking about football, American football. So
exactly.
No, it's good somebody uses it right. Right, yeah, so thank you for having me on. Andre Becker, I've been in the channel for over a decade. I started my career kind of in direct sales, similar to you, Craig. Then worked for a company called Gartner, where I learned a lot about kind of growth strategies. And, most of the time that ended up being a discussion around, we want to do channel, right? So, and ever since then, I kind of was hooked after I kind of learned a little bit more about it, and then kind of took a lot of that theoretical knowledge with me into companies like Tableau Software, where I was one of the early hires in Europe. And I really then started making it my mission to help kind of startups and scale-ups and kind of build partner channel from scratch, because it was very clear to me very quickly that there's value in this, and a lot of companies actually don't really know how to start this. So I've done that time and time over. And then for the past 2 to 3 years, I've been doing that as what's called a fractional leader, basically as a self-employed leader that comes in and helps, as an external. So really looking forward to speaking to you guys and having some fellow channel leaders, to learn from. And the first webinar was already great, so I'm looking forward to what we have in store today. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're always excited to have you as part of our webinars and podcasts. Next is Brent Earlywine, the baddest man in channels, 15-degree black belt. And again, as good as he is at martial arts, with his brand new book, the Martial Arts Guides to Executives, he's even a better channel leader than he is a martial arts guy. So I'll pass it over to you, Brent.
I think, we keep this up. I'm going to owe you a whole bunch of money, Craig. I'm keeping tabs. I think I owe you $40 today already. So thanks. Appreciate it. Brent Earlywine. Really looking forward to this discussion again. I always I describe myself as I'm the channel guy. I've been in channels for 30 years plus. My entire professional career has been dedicated to channels, indirect routes to markets, managing channel partnerships, managing channel teams, channel programs of every size, scope, stripe. So these are always fantastic conversations, and there's always something to learn, even for some of the old dogs like me that got a little gray hair on their face. So looking forward to the conversation, and I think you guys are going to enjoy it as well.
All right, well, let's jump in. So if you'll hit the next slide there. Yeah, so here's the quick agenda, everybody. We're going to go through a quick review of the Partnerships 3.0 methodology. I think it's really important to sort of set the stage there on what makes us different, the way that we look at the channels, maybe just a little bit different than the traditional channel model. So I want to set the stage with that. We're going to go through a quick topic introduction. So we'll walk through that. We'll have some panel discussion around 3 or 4 questions. We're going to go through the Partnerships 3.0 planning process overview. So I want to at least highlight what we've done in the previous webinars. I'm going to introduce a concept called strategy profiling and how we use strategy profiling for the basis for building a strategic sales play. And then I'm going to give you guys some sales play best practices. We'll have a quick Q&A and a call to action. So that's the jam-packed session. We'll see if we can get it in within an hour. So Yeah, so to start things off, and then again, this will be a little bit of a dialogue between Andre, Brent, and I, but let me kind of set the stage with Partnerships 3.0. This is really a next generation channel model that's built on the concepts of active sellers. It's built on the concepts of really building a data-driven structured performance model. So this is the back end of the partner seller to the customer and how we structure that go-to-market. And there are really three phases to this model. So the first is performance planning. That was the first webinar we did. We introduced one of the tools that we have, which is a territory modeling, territory planning tool. We also have a partner planning tool that complements the territory planning tool. I'll show you a little bit more about that as we move forward. But we score partners, we score partner sellers, and then we build a workflow for based on target account planning and accounts that we want to go after. So essentially what we're doing is we're building all the data and the metrics that we need to hit, and we're shining a flashlight on what we need to do to actually generate the revenue that we're assigning to a territory or we are assigning to a partner community. So that's all, that's the first stage of the process. It is performance planning. But once you have a performance plan, you got to equip the partner seller with something. He has to be given a strategy or a process to execute in order for the planning side of it to work. So today's webinar is really going to be talking about strategy resourcing. We're going to talk about strategy profiles. We're going to talk about sales playbooks. We're going to talk about a prospecting process. And we're going to talk a lot about strategy enablement and the differences between a traditional, channel marketing playbook or sales play versus a strategy that's encapsulated into a playbook. And then the final webinar, which will be happening on October 18th, is really execution intelligence. So as we go through the planning process, we go through the strategy resourcing, we want our partners out executing against the plan that we put out. How do we capture that data so that we can course correct? And how do we display that data and provide that feedback on a consistent basis so that we are ensuring that we're going to exceed the numbers? So I'm going to pause right there. I'll ask, Andre or Brent, any thoughts or comments? Obviously, you guys have been through this process with me now for months and months, and I think you guys are experts at it. But give me your feedback.
I mean, I'll give you two observations. One, just the depth of the information, the thought process, and what I would label as a holistic approach to selling through and with partners, right? So in some of the discussions we'll have today, we had on the last webinar, and I'm sure we'll have on the next one coming up, is really how most vendors will do some portion of this, but not necessarily the next step kind of in that logic chain and finish connecting the dots. And to me, I think that's really been my observation on what's been so powerful in the discussions is the complete picture, the holistic picture, end to end, with visibility, with measurement, with metrics, and execution.
Yeah. Same. I mean, yeah, can only agree, right? I mean, if I had that a few years ago, right, when I, was working with a lot of the traditional channel model and seen it executed that way, that would have been incredibly helpful, right? Because a lot of the organizations nowadays, like even down to targeting their partner managers, etc., is really much based on, the overall end result, right? Of we need to make revenue with the partner, but what do we specifically do to get there, and how do we engage the right people, right? And that's I think that's where this comes in really nice, and it kind of most organizations don't go into that level, and that's why that's very powerful.
Yeah, no, perfect. So let's move over to the next slides. Thanks. So for those of you that are just maybe hearing about Partnerships 3.0 for the first time, this is really if I can give you one big difference about what we do versus, or what the model does versus the traditional model. The traditional model is really focused on, traditional channel metrics. Almost every partner program is, the priority is the relationship between the vendor and the partner community, and defining the types of partnerships that we have, and building some high-level go-to-market. And I think those are all important. They're super foundational. I take nothing away from the importance of having a solid partner program, as the foundation to anything that we're doing. What our model does is it complements that partner program strategy. And what we're doing is we're focused on active partner sellers and target accounts. So my view, my philosophy, the way that we sort of operate is we're trying to turn the channel into a math equation, and we're trying to make it very structured. And we do that by understanding how many active sellers we have at any one time, what accounts they're actually calling on, and what they're doing while they're calling on those accounts. So that then creates the momentum for the revenue that we need. And the final thing that I would say is, the biggest problem that I think we're addressing with this model, especially on the revenue side, is the traditional model is a hire and hope model. So we hire somebody, we assign a quota, and we give them the territory, and we just hope that they're going to go out and generate the revenue. And what we're trying to do is more of a plan and perform model. So we're all about still hiring. We're still about giving the quota, but we're about showing that individual, whether it's the partner or whether it's a territory manager, all the metrics that he needs to hit and when he needs to hit them. And we're going to equip him with everything he needs to be successful in his messaging, in his outreach, to create the level of engagement we need to actually make the number. And we're going to measure against that. So I'll pause there. Any other comments on that, Brent or Andre?
Yeah, I mean, I'll restate some of what you said, but maybe in a different way, right? So the traditional approach to channels, channel metrics, channel measurements, those are table stakes. They're still critical. They're still really important. You still need to, manage the relationship. You still need to measure the relationship. But part of what we're talking about is, it's not hire and hope. It is doing the math, and the math is not going to let you hide and cross your fingers and hope for the best, but it's going to show you what needs to be done, who needs to do it. And then the great thing that comes out of that part of the discussion is it's going to be very clear whether you need to engage more active sellers, hire or recruit more partners, or do this or do that, whatever the case might be. It's going to show you what the path is, which literally lays out what your strategy is going to look like, or what your actions in the field are going to look like.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. Yeah, and I think there's still a lot of an assumption that partner sellers know what to do and how to sell. If you just give them like some basic information, like the traditional one pager that we see all too often, that kind of gives us a little bit of basic information. But we assume that from now on the seller will know what to do right after we're putting them through some very basic information sharing. And the reality is that that's not the case, and that's why very often there are disappointments, right, and inflated expectations. So this really gets rid of that, right? So this process really gets rid of that by giving them something that's measurable and calculatable. So
yeah, 100%. So just to sort of finalize this, I want to recap real quick the first webinar, because this is going to set the stage for the resourcing side of it. I'll be very quick with this, but this was we have a tool where we input about 11 to 12 pieces of data, and that tool spits out tons of great information. It'll identify the number of active sellers and resources we need to generate the number. It'll give me all the outreaches, engagements, meetings, close deals needed. It will show me the solution metrics by quarter, the KPIs I need to make. It'll give me the investments that I need to make in MDF or incentives. It'll score partners. We'll score partner sellers. We'll define a set of accounts. So this becomes a really structured plan, and we remove a lot of the gaps. So the first webinar was really discussing the tool, showing this. There are really kind of 4 use cases that I see for the tool. So one is territory planning. The other is partner planning, where we take a number and we push that down to the partner in the business plan, and we can show the partner everything that they need to do to make that number. And then we also do performance modeling. So the beauty of this tool is we can sit back and say, hey, what happens if we change this number, if our engagement rates changed, or our close rates changed, or our outreach numbers change. So we have the ability to model things that we can do to improve the performance of the territory in nearly real time. And then the final thing here is we've used this tool a couple of times in the interview process with folks, so that when they're out interviewing, when they're doing their 30, 60, 90-day plan, they're showing up and they're literally showing the people they're interviewing with how they would approach a territory and the metrics they're going to drive towards to make the number. So that was the first webinar. Again, this is really important stuff because it sets up the strategy resourcing. So let's jump into growing revenue 2x, all right, through strategic resourcing, playbook resourcing. So let me ask the question, right? Most vendors, channel sales teams use sales certification, program compliance, product technology enablement, coupled with opportunistic co-marketing and co-demand generation motions as the leverage to create partner-led demand creation. So essentially, we're going to look at the partner program. We're going to put margin incentives in place. We're going to do product enablement. And we expect that to be enough to drive the behavior of the partner seller to prospect and find new accounts. So the question is this still the right approach to partner sales enablement? And I'll put that up to either of you.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that if you're okay with that, Brent. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the past, right, and the way that enablement has been done, most of the it's always traditionally been mostly focused on the product, right, and feature function talk rather than the value talk. And today there's definitely more focus, I think, overall from partner managers to try to enable their partners as sales teams, using these kind of traditional methods you just described. But very often, mostly they have still been developed originally to be product enablement. So, and then they just adjust them slightly to kind of cover the sales aspect. So, when you're looking at LMS tools and classroom sales certifications, this kind of thing, which most of the time they're kept fairly easy to achieve, right? So you've got mainly partner managers that are actually targeted on this, right? So they want as many people to go through this as possible, and they want to have as many people certified as possible. But it also means that the quality falls by the wayside, and with that, the results, right? So, and then on the other hand, you have the partner sellers team who kind of often don't have really the time and the mind share to go through a very refined training track, right? So it ends up just being this kind of about getting the certification badge, right, and then collecting badges, etc. Now, by all means, I'm not saying that that's not the right process or that that's not that traditional methods don't work. No, I think they're absolutely important and they need to be there. But I think in addition, we need something that is more tangible and engaging. And I think partner seller engagement here is the key word, because yes, you can put sellers through rudimentary training and expect that they'll be going out and selling your product, and position that to their customers. But as you rightly said, right, that's the hope, right? Hope for the best, kind of, unless you want to, unless you connect the sellers with something that they actually demonstrates that you generally care about their success and give them a very clear plan on how to get there, you will always have this ad hoc hope for the best kind of environment with a ton of potential partner sellers, but where the majority are just not going to engage enough to drive the growth that you both need, right? So that's how I see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Brent?
Yeah, I mean, Andre, I think you, excuse me, you touch on a couple of really core points there. I mean, I'll use the term yes and, right? So yes, we should be doing all the above. Typically, what I see that has been missing, either in my own personal experience or from most vendors' programs and motions and channel teams, is taking that next step to be very specific on how are we going to be successful? What are the steps? Who are we going to target? How are we going to approach them? All the way down to, by name and putting, timelines on it. So, lots of brand awareness, co-marketing, co-demand generation between the two organizations, vendor and partners. But then how do you take that to the next level of depth or specificity to go, all right, we're going to go target 20 accounts and here they are by name. And this is how we're going to approach them. And this is what you're going to do. And this is what I'm going to do. At the end of the day, if you're a vendor, you have partners for a reason. And that is because you're trying to generate revenue. So this to me now becomes how do you actually connect the dots and get to the point where you're generating revenue and holding everybody accountable on what those motions are going to look like? But you got to map it out, right? You got to show them. So, we touched on this briefly in the first webinar. The tool is nothing more than really showing us the math. You need to get to X as a number. Well, guess what? This is what you need to do to get to that number. Now we're talking about, great, how are you going to resource that kind of motion? What is it going to look like? Because you're being very specific on how do I get to those accounts? What message am I going to deliver? Who's going to deliver it? We're going to do it together, whatever the case may be. So to me, again, it's this, you got to help that partner, show them, do it with them, and being very specific on, how are we going to go capture that opportunity and capture that revenue. Craig?
Yeah, you can go to that next slide. So for me, I think this is really important. I guess my image isn't showing up there, but what's really important is moving from product enablement to strategy enablement. I think strategy enablement is so important to this, and partners are going to sell the easiest, most profitable thing to sell. So a sales play may not always make it profitable, but we can certainly make it easy for the partner seller to sell. So how do we make it easy? We make it easy by building a recipe, and we make it easy by helping them with a higher probability opportunity to win. And so for me, everything starts with a strategy profile. When I go to start building sales plays, the sales play starts with a strategy. It's not a marketing document for me that just says, hey, here's a product overview and here's some general messaging and here's some general objections, that when that marketing document shows up to the sales guy and he looks at the reality of his accounts and he looks at the reality of his sales situation, that it doesn't really help him. It just gives him more general overview stuff. So for us, we start with a strategy profile. That strategy profile is generated through a tool that we have at Channel Force, where we're taking a set of survey questions. We've got a set of formulas in the background, and we're assessing solution strength, market opportunity, partner impact, and partner rewards. And we're aligning a strategy for each one of these 4 elements based on its strength. So from a high level, I'll just use one of these because I can get bogged down here. But solution strength, there are 4 levels of solution strength for our strategy profile. If I have a strong solution, the corresponding strategy would be to challenge the market to meet, my value. If I have a favorable solution, meaning that I can win in certain use cases, on certain features, in certain environments, then I want to segment the market, and I want to build a sales play where I'm going after specific segments. So my ICP becomes a lot tighter, and my messaging around my value is aligned with the segmentation strategy. I'm segmenting on where I can win. If I have a competitive solution, meaning I have no real differentiation across the board, then I'm going to try and complement. I need to change the value proposition of my solution in order for me to win in that market and to capture more mind share with folks. And I'm also forcing my competitors now to change their value proposition to meet mine. And then the final is, if I have a really weak solution, then I'm going to disrupt on price. I know I can't win based on features, based on use case. So I've got to win on price and force everybody else to meet my price. So that's an example, but the strategy profile becomes the beginning of the sales play development process for Channel Force. So comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great example of, there's a vast difference between, and this is what a lot of vendor marketing teams do, and it's good. That's our starting point, which is, we're going to put together the white papers, the case studies, the, kind of the script of the sales process on how to deliver the value prop message. But usually they're pretty generic. And what I mean by that is it's one version, and then it's, supposed to be used by everybody for all customers, maybe in a specific vertical, by example. What you're talking about here, Craig, is the ability to understand my offerings, so the solution version, right, out of the 4 kind of pieces of the matrix, but then custom to me, custom to how I position it to the target prospect, and then deliver that message through and with the partner. So it's another layer of specificity that I think is very, very important, and it helps with the sales process, because now I understand. All right, great. You didn't just give me a marketing slick and wish for the best. Now we have a very specific kind of message that we're going to go deliver to that market together.
Yep, absolutely. Andre, any comments, thoughts?
Yeah, I think a couple of things you touched on there, which is always one thing when it comes to that sort of enablement, is the mind share piece, right? Because we are very often, especially with the larger partners, you will see that where there's often a war for mind share, right, within for the sales organization, and you're competing against all these other vendors that are trying to get that mind share and attention and the sales team. And just having a good compensation scheme for the sales team or for your partner is not good enough, right? So you need to find ways of how to engage with them, and this is exactly what this does, right? So this puts you ahead almost from a competitive point of view when it's about competing for that mind share, right? And I think that is why that is incredibly powerful. That's where a lot of customers that I've worked with in the past were really lacking that kind of what to do to get to win that mindshare against all these other partners that are trying to do the same thing. So I think that is where that's very powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Brent, you can move to the next slide.
There you go.
All right, there we go. So this really is just sort of a representation, because I want people to understand how the strategy profile fits into an overall playbook here. So this is a normal process that you would run through. With the strategy profile is going to provide the positioning strategy for the sales play in the middle. And again, we're going to develop the sales play based on the strategy profile. The strategy profile also provides the growth strategies that we want to align back into the target account planning process. And we have a number of different growth strategies. We can grow by consuming competitive market share. We can grow by moving to new geography. We can grow by protecting our install base and upgrading our install base. We can grow by changing and adding new use cases. So we want to build growth strategies into the sales play, and then we want to take that and align it into a target account planning process. So this is, again, just a quick representation for how we leverage strategy profiles into a sales play that's based on a strategy. So any comments or thoughts?
Yeah, I'll use this as an example to call out again. If you're looking kind of left to right, vendors may or may not have a decent kind of strategy, positioning, understanding on solutions in the marketplace, value prop statements. They may or may not have pretty sophisticated sales play documentation that they share with the partner community. Typically, what I see is almost missing, 90% plus of the time, is what's off on the far right, which is the actual planning process. Show me the math. Very, very detailed. What accounts by name? What are the metrics? So it's that connection off to the far right that I think is critically important and that most vendors miss.
Yeah, and when we all know this when we're talking about, for example, we're going into a count mapping exercise with a partner, right? And in the end, all we're doing is saying like, oh yeah, well, there's a couple of accounts that match. Why don't you give them a call? I give them a call, and we walk away with a couple of action items, but nothing that really enables us to say, okay, we have a really clear plan here to position this. Yeah, I think spot on there.
All right.
Oops. One too many. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So let's jump to the next question. Do you see a need to build better strategy alignment into the partner-led demand creation process? And maybe that's a little bit of a leading question, but I'm gonna throw it out.
It is, but that's okay. I mean, I think the short answer is absolutely, right? Again, some of the commentary that I've shared here, the previous webinar, and I'm sure I'll repeat it a couple of times because I think it's really critically important, is you've got to finish connecting the dots, right? So I've got to have a good, solid strategy, but it's got to be supported by motions, supporting documentations, and the specific details that get us closer to success. And then at the end of it, I also need to be able to measure it too. And I think we'll probably spend some time talking about that on the next one, right? So,
Yep.
What are my KPIs? What am I going to hold myself and my partner teams accountable for? And then what are we going to use to do the measurement too? Is it, again, I think vendors default to, it's an email trail. It's, maybe somebody types in some unstructured notes into a Salesforce entry. So, what are the ways to actually keep track of the accountability piece of that, right? So you got to tie all this together. But yes, you absolutely need better strategy alignment with supporting documentation, motions, measurement, and accountability. Andre?
Yeah, yeah. I think anybody who's joined all of us, I think anybody who talks about partnerships will know that this is absolutely the case, right? So this is an area that is more often than not overlooked. You wouldn't go, and it kind of, it just makes sense, right? You wouldn't go and start marketing or product development without having an alignment to your overall strategy, right? And so why would you do that with partnerships? And that's where what I mentioned earlier, right? It's often assumed that partner sellers will grasp nuances of what it takes to sell your solution, right? But the reality is often that they don't, and that if if you don't have a very clearly defined actionable process to give to them, then you're kind of lacking that alignment to the seller with your own strategy, causing the results to be disappointing, right? So that's what I mentioned earlier. And the term, I think, the singing from the same hymn sheet, right? If that's the
Yep.
right English term, comes to mind, right? The messages, the process, the expectation that, of the seller to go through the sales process, all of that needs to be really clear and unified. Everybody needs to be clear about the outcome as well. What is it we're asking for? Are we asking for the first meeting, a demo? How do we do that? What do we say? So whatever you think is the ideal process, it needs to be very clear to the seller, and then you need to give them the collateral along the way, to kind of help them get to that, right? And it's a matter of do we need collateral that matches the specific verticals or personas, or is there a specific customer profile in my area that I focus on? So do I have the right information to deal with that, right? So the more specific your collateral, the more self-sufficient and engaged your sellers are, right? And this comes back again to this engagement, what I mentioned earlier. You'll end up with more engaged sellers and win more mind share, right? Potentially over those vendors that trying to basically partner with them as well. And ultimately, that's what you need, right? To grow, in order to grow that kind of seller base and win more deals.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Craig, if you don't mind, I actually want to go. I won't change the slide, but I want to go back to a point you made earlier, right? And the partner sellers will kind of latch on to what's quote unquote easier. And I think that statement maybe is a little misleading, but I think it's also extremely accurate at the same time. What I mean by that is partner sellers, like if I'm a partner seller, I'm going to tell my vendor teams, like, don't make me try to make this up as I go along. Don't force me to try to figure out my supporting documentation and value prop statements and positioning, and don't make me try to make up the strategy as I go. I won't do it. I'm going to gravitate towards a vendor that's going to do an awful lot of that legwork for me and with me. And it makes that easier for me, right? You're mapping out the strategy, you're mapping out the approach, you're mapping out the methodology and the sales motions. And I will engage with that as a partner seller all day long because I don't have to do a lot of that work, right? I can just focus on, oh, what's our target? Our target is, Andre, to your point, right? I want to get to a meeting. Once I get to the meeting, what's my target? I want to get to the next meeting. It's making it that dead drop simple for the partner sellers, and they'll respond to that in a high take rate kind of fashion because you've made it easier for them. There's a lot of work there to do that, right, and make it easy. That's why I say easy is kind of a misleading term. It's not easy to do it, not easy to build it out. But once you do that work, the partner sellers will absolutely latch onto it, and then you'll stand out from the other vendors that are in their, kind of portfolio line card, if you will.
Yeah. And I can't recall if I said it in the last webinar, but I had several partners actually in my channel live tell me that well, actually you weren't the right choice from a product point of view, but we work with you because you are easy to work with, right? From a partnership point, right? It's easy to partner with you, and that's because you're taking that kind of to the next level, right? Where they don't have to do anything and focus not anything, but focus on what they what they're supposed to do. So very good point. Excellent point. Yeah.
Craig?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I totally agree with everything you guys just said, and I think you both gave me really good segues. When I think about making it easy to sell for people and resourcing a complete strategy, I look at it in sort of two dimensions. So the first is the positioning strategies that we talked about with the strategy profiles and really understanding the dynamics of the partnership, the compensation, the growth strategies, the positioning strategy. All those things are really important that we fit those into the sales play. But we get down to another level. The second dimension of this is the recipe or the roadmap that we want the partner seller to follow. And one of the biggest mistakes that I see from the normal sales play or the normal way that we enable the sales play with partners is we enable it as a marketing document. We say, hey, here's a sales play. It's up on the partner portal. Just read through that, and it becomes almost like a reference guide here or there, but it's not really something that is used as a recipe. And part of what we're building in the slide that I have up here is I'm breaking down the strategy into the buyer's journey, and I'm breaking down the strategy into the sales process. And what I'm trying to get people to do, again, this is a common mistake that I see often, which is in the email campaign, we're trying to sell a product in the email campaign, or we're trying to sell a product in our messaging. And it's like, hey, we're going to go from, I got the sales play or I got this product I can sell to I'm just trying to sell it right away. And a really effective sales process and a really effective sales play that's built on a strategy breaks things down into buckets. So the number one up here, sell the partner seller. The sales play that we build are really focused on convincing the partner seller to prioritize selling our solution, and we're going to make it easy and profitable for you to sell. So that's the first sale that we make. The campaigns that we align, the messaging that we align, the events, and all the other things that we align around the sales play are meant to do one thing, and that is to highlight a pain point the customer has and to try and drive them to a meeting. We're not talking about a product at all. We're just talking about, you've got these problems, we can solve these problems, and I can create this benefit. Do you have a few minutes to talk? So we're going to resource the meeting. Once we get to the meeting, the next thing that we're trying to do in this discovery meeting is, again, we're not trying to sell a product. We're trying to sell an assessment. We're trying to sell a demo. We're trying to sell the next step in the sales process. So our pitch deck and everything that we build is meant to do one thing, and that is to try and capture data that's relevant so we can make a consultative sale. And we'll do that through an assessment, or we'll do that through a demo. And so, once we've got that data, or we got somebody moving to a demo, now we're getting lots of detailed information from that customer so that we can customize the demo to meet their needs. Then we move into step 4, which is this consultative sale. And we're resourcing the objections you're going to hear, the things that you've got to do to be successful in developing your proof of value or whatever the next step is. But the point is, we're breaking everything into buckets. We're resourcing the individual bucket, and we're not worried about the next step or the 2 steps down, from it. We're worried about the next step in the process and how we get there. So I think this is a really important thing to develop a storyboard around your sales play and how you're going to position that sales play. And it's something I believe that's missing often from the sales plays that are out in the market today traditionally.
Yeah.
So I'll pause there.
You used a term that I'd tease out and call out, which is resourcing, right? So not only resourcing all of these motions and resourcing them in an intelligent way, right? So a little more customized for that particular target list of customers, specific solution sets, specific pain points. The other resourcing that we talked about as well is, what's the surround resourcing that you need to actually support the sales motion itself? So, we talked about on the first webinar was the tool that it shows you the math. Part of that math is the resourcing math, and that's the resourcing math on what do I need to set aside from a budget perspective to support this properly, and whatever that needs to look like. Excuse me, whether it's supporting customer or target prospect outreach, to events, to partner incentives, to drive specific behavior, whatever the case may be. So again, it's a really holistic view on resourcing the sales motion as well as budgetary resourcing to support the sales motion as well.
Yeah, no, we absolutely cover all of that for sure in the planning process. So Andre, I think I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. You made all very excellent points, and being the German on the call, I'm kind of just a bit conscious of time. So, so why don't you go ahead? And
all right, we'll move to the next thing. So, all right, Uh, what's one common mistake you see partner pros make when aligning sales plays with their partner community?
Andre, you want to go first?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, so I think partner managers. One of the things that I always really when I work with my teams that I always kind of make the point of is they don't demonstrate enough that we really care about the partner's business, right? So even down to the seller, right, from caring about their quota success, etc. And I think in the past I've learned that if you can demonstrate that you are, and that then you're suddenly in a position where you will be respected and valued, for more than just being the partner manager, if you know what I mean. Like you'll be part of the team, right? I had some partners fly me into the internal strategy meetings just because I showed that, I care about what they do as a business, right? I wasn't just there to push my technology in that sense. I was genuinely trying to help them be a better practice or whatever it was that they're doing on their end, right? And I think that gained me access to invaluable information by just being more included, and that then allowed me to look at how can we use our solution to help the partner grow, and even then go and map that out to them. I think so that I think is a very powerful thing that I don't see often enough, right? So partner managers often just have this, I need to call a partner, get an opportunity, and and that, like, just show that you care about your partner's business. So I think that is one point I would make.
Yeah. I mean, my answer to the question is there isn't a lot of alignment. Partner teams have a tendency to default that they throw it over the wall and hope for the best, right? So we said the phrase earlier, hire and hope. This is one of the hopes, unfortunately, that happen a lot. I don't know about you, but how many times has a channel team responded to a partner's request for, hey, I need help from a positioning perspective, or the next meeting I've got with a prospect here in the next 2 hours, and they email them a link to a white paper or a marketing slick or what have you, and then say, hey, let me know how that works out, right? So I think the other common mistake that's directly attached to that, and that they could fix really quickly, is you got to be in the trenches. I'm a big fan of the co-selling model with your partners when it's appropriate. Usually it's more complex kind of products and solutions that require that kind of model. But the partners are going to appreciate, to your point, Andre, that you're in the trenches with them. You care about your business. You care about the sales process. You care about the success of their business and your business together as a joint opportunity. So I'd say don't just throw stuff over the wall. Even if it's well built and customized, you still need to be a part of that process. There's a really good chart we could probably send out to everybody, but the level of engagement on an individual opportunity with a partner, up front, there should be a lot of engagement. Maybe the partner carries a little more of the weight in the middle of that opportunity engagement, and then engaging on a heavy fashion together as organizations towards the end to get it closed. But you have to be in the trenches with the partner. Craig?
Yeah, so I totally agree with you guys on that, and I think you bring up a really good point on the co-sell motion. And I want to make it really clear when I'm talking about sales plays or playbooks, it doesn't always mean that it's the vendor driving their value exclusive to the partner. A lot of the playbooks should be flexible enough to allow for a co-sell motion. The email campaigns, all the work that goes in behind the resourcing of the playbook should be incorporating the partner's value, and it should be flexible enough for every partner to be able to incorporate their value as they see fit into the overall sales play. So I think that's a really important call out, and I think it is a mistake it is truly a mistake that we see in the way that a lot of sales plays are written. But I have a couple of others. If you want to go to the next slide, I'll go through a couple of things here that I think are really critical when it comes to developing sales plays. So the first is to incorporate the entire demand creation process into the sales play. So the triangle that you guys see up there, this is the Channel Force vision for demand creation. So one of the biggest issues that I think we run into is we have a lot of siloed processes. So, if you look at this pyramid, you see marketing, you see market development, you see selling, and the marketing organization does the marketing, and there's a touch point for market development somewhere along the lines, and then the partner is doing the selling. So that's the normal sort of linear process that we take the channel through. But the model that I put in place, and where I think the sales play could fit right where it says strategy, but the idea is that we are moving from just product enablement to actual strategy enablement. So the strategy is the key that to what we are trying to accomplish. How we've identified a problem, we're attacking that problem, and we have a process, messaging, everything that we need to attack that or to build that strategy. The marketing, the market development, and the selling, the reason this is a pyramid rather than a linear process is I want my partners responsible for marketing, I want my partners responsible for market development, and I want them responsible for selling. And the linkage where we have organize, educate, and equip, that is the channel's job to organize, educate, and equip the partners to execute the strategy, to deliver the marketing, to deliver the market development, and the sell. And what you end up with when a partner is running this entire pyramid process, they have ownership, where when it's broken off into little silos, they only take ownership for the fulfillment, the selling side of it. And we're trying to break that. We want them to have ownership of the entire process so that we deliver more value. The other thing that when we talk about strategy sitting in the middle, what does that really look like? So we're looking at customer priority needs. We want to understand the buying motivations of the customer. We want to understand our value to address their priority need. We want to understand the solutions that we have that can address and create the outcomes that our partners, that our customers want. We need to have a sales development process, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then we need to have a structured prospecting process that overlays all of this. And that's how we build a strategy. We build a strategy going through those 6 elements right there. So I'll pause there. Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, typically what we see from vendors, and again, personal experience, unfortunately, is we don't have strategy in the center of that kind of pyramid. We have a tendency to throw in product or a solution.
Right? Yep, yeah, 100%. It's product. So yep. We've got to evolve from that.
Yep.
So, all right, Andre, anything? Are we good, or are we going to the next slide?
Again, being the German.
I got you. We're good. All right, we'll go to the next slide here real quick. So one of the other things that I think is really important with sales plays, and I'm going to give a quick shout out to a company I just met the other day called Forecastable, another one that I'm working with, Partnernomics. It is about leveraging technology in the sales plays. One of the partnerships that I have is a company called Splash Metrics, and Splash Metrics has a self-paced, AI-driven, automated buyer's journey that we will attach to every email that goes out. We will attach it into the outbound marketing of the partner. And what we're trying to do here is capture the buyer that doesn't want to speak to a sales rep. How do I get my value to solve his problem in a way that he can consume it on his own time without having to speak to a sales rep, without feeling the pressure? And it's one of the challenges we're running in today. All the SDR functions, the BDR functions, all the just general email outreach stuff, it's starting to lose its effectiveness, its power, because people are becoming more self-aware. They're taking their own journeys to discover what they want. So having this sort of self-paced, automated buyer's journey that for us, and we'll get into this more next week with Splash Metrics, or not next week, the next webinar, the fact that I can capture the customer's engagement with my value proposition and have that data pushed back to the CRM is huge. So this incorporating technology and having the structure of something like a Partnernomics IQ, having the Forecastable on the co-selling front, taking something like Splash Metrics, putting this in, using the tools from Channelforce on the TAP app and the partner planning, this becomes really, really powerful stuff. But we have to figure out how to align this back into a sales play. So we're equipping the partner seller to be effective. I'll pause there.
Yeah, I think if I may, so this is really exciting topic for me, because I think we are in an era where there's a ton of really great technology out there to make to give the partner which is what I mentioned in the last webinar, to give them an experience, right? So I'm always about creating a partner experience, and these kind of tools as Splash Metrics, which is an amazing tool, you can really with a very effective tool, you can create that experience and turbocharge it, right? And really create something very truly amazing for the partner. It actually helps the partner as well. So yeah, I'm a big advocate. There's great technology out there. This is a fantastic example. So yeah, I'm all for that.
All right, Brent, 2 minutes because we got to roll to the next stuff.
I'll do it in 30 seconds. I'll do it in 15. The game has changed. So there's a sophistication in the channel and selling through indirect routes to market that is vastly different than it was 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And Splash Metrics, as one example, is a good example of that. So there's this level of sophistication that's required and almost dictated by the partner community to go, look, you're a vendor. It's no longer send me to the PRM and, tell me the program metrics and we'll see you at the QBR, right? So it's this level of engagement, sales motions, strategies, plays, being in the trenches with them, and then the surround from a technology stack perspective that really makes it more successful and more sophisticated.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let me go to the last kind of best practice here. And, for me, aligning a sales development process into the sales play, this is one of the things that is missing so often, is that we focus so heavily on the front end that we fail to give the partner a process to develop the sale. This is a strategy board form that I've developed that literally, if I were whiteboarding how I was going to win a piece of business, so I got the meeting, I've got the discovery call coming up. What are the questions I need to ask? What do I need to answer? What's my design need to look like? Can I win this piece of business? Who are the people that I've got to connect with? And I'm scoring those people. Are they Are they neutral? Are they champions? Are they against me? Are they decision makers, users? I'm defining their key requirements, technical and business. I'm looking at my solution fit to figure out how what I'm going to message based on their buying motivation. So just going into all the detail or how I'm going to win a piece of business, even down to the pricing side of it. Am I pricing to my competition? Am I pricing to my value? Am I pricing to upsell? Right. So there's a whole list of things. This is a 10-page document that I've put together, but I resource this as a link into the sales plays that I go out and deliver, because this gives the partner seller a very structured process that links back to the overall value that we're out delivering. So again, something else that I think is missing from the traditional sales play, but something that is sorely needed, and I've got great success with this. So I'll pause there, and then I'm going to actually show 2 or 3 quick sales plays, just to give you guys an example of what a sales play that Channel Force builds looks like, and then we'll sort of close it out there. But Brent,
all right, so, yeah, let me pause the presentation, then you can share, Craig.
All right, I will share my entire screen. Okay, and I'll try and make this relatively quick. But this is an example of one of my customers, Corber Supply Chain Management. We built a very structured sales play, and so I'm just kind of giving you guys the overview. But it's this is why the partner should be selling. So we're talking about the average deal size. In here, we've resourced a complete sales process. We build everything out: step 1, step 2, step 3. We've got a scoring process, an outreach process. There are links throughout this to messaging. We overlay a prospecting process called 4321. We have all the emails, call scripts built in. We have links to the deal registration portal. We've got questionnaires built out. So this is a complete resourcing, common objections, but it was what I was talking about by building the breadcrumbs and the strategies all the way across the board. Another client of mine is NetBrain. We did the same thing. We went through, built a really structured sales play around their value proposition, who we're targeting, why we're targeting them. Again, links into the partner portal for everything that I need, a very structured sales process along the way. And the final one that I would show you is Vertical 6, another one of my clients. Same thing. We're going through building the opportunity overview, defining who our targets are, why we're going after them, giving them a process with, again, links built in everywhere. The elevator pitch, the email campaign, the pitch deck. So the point is, building your document based on a strategy, and then aligning that strategy and resourcing that strategy becomes paramount. And this is how you gain the mind share of the partner seller, and how you build higher probability opportunities to win. So I'll pause there and I'll stop sharing. I'll turn it back to you, Brent.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I think those are good examples of making it easy for the partner, right? So, I'll use the hot links as maybe a quick example of that. I no longer have to dump out of a document, go figure out where's the link, where am I going to find this, where am I going to, hey, I'm going to reach out to my partner account manager. Dude, can you send me the link for where the pitch deck is? I can't find it, right? So having it all in one place, also, again, not easy to do, but once that work is done, then it ends up making it easier for the partner selling teams.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a recipe. I mean, we just follow step 1, step 2, and you're fully resourced on every step. Andre, any comments?
Yeah, no. As I mentioned before, I had something like this many years ago, right? We had this, the usual. I think the best I ever got was a 2-pager, which contained mostly product information. Which was in the end not very helpful for what we were trying to achieve. But that is where this is an absolute game changer, right? And it changes the way that we are now also taking ownership of how the partner sales team is able to continue this. And also providing something like this shows everybody who, like the sales directors, the leadership team in your partner. It shows them that you are really caring for giving them the best potential to drive more business, right? And that again gives you a lot more ability to kind of open up new opportunities within that partner, right? By people suddenly realizing what you've been doing. So it's very powerful.
All right, Brent, let's go to the next couple slides. I think we're down to the very end here. I just showed the examples. So just a couple of quick things, guys. These are folks that we work with over at Channel Force. These are amazing companies. Anybody watching this, please reach out to me, Brent, Andre. We'll get you connected with any one of these companies, but we're super excited to be aligned with each of these companies. Go to the last slide here. So I know we didn't leave any time. We're 2 minutes left on our thing, so there's not a lot of Q&A that's probably going to happen on this call. But what I would say is you can reach out to me, Brent, Andre, either via LinkedIn. My email address is craig@channel-force.com. You can fire over a question to me at any point in time. I'm happy to answer them. But if you're getting value out of these, which I hope you are, I hope you guys register for our next webinar, where we're going to be really talking and diving into channel metrics and how to maximize revenue through measurement and accountability. So that'll be October 18th. And then my final call to action, I would love to have a call with any of you guys and share with you some of the things that we do, get into more detail, and make it more of a personalized session for anybody that wants to understand how Channel Force and our methodologies with Brent and Andre, how we can help you guys grow to an additional 2x revenue. So I'll pause there. We're coming to the end. Brent, Andre, any final thoughts or questions?
Yeah, comments? I mean, I'll say we have an offer on the table. If you have a territory or something that you want to run through the tool to see what the math looks like, that is a offer we were more than happy to take and do for you and with you. You'll find that it's very enlightening to see what that math says, right, in terms of what you need in terms of outreach, active sellers in your partner community, partner account managers, number of deals in your funnel, what have you. So that is an offer that you should take us up on.
Yep. Andre, anything else on your end?
No, it's been a great session again. Looking forward to the next one. I hope it's been helpful for everybody, and more than happy to answer any questions afterwards. Please, everybody, just reach out.
Well, I want to personally thank both of you guys. You guys are both stars, and you carry this podcast, so I appreciate you guys more than you know, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thanks, guys.
Good deal. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye.